Well, I've been meaning to ask you this. Actually, I have asked it of you before, Forrest, but I don't remember your answer. Why is it that when I'm compiling the ingredients for a cake and I'm counting all the calories that are there in the ingredients, and then I divide it into whatever the portion is, that it's not the same as the cooked cake?
So there's two ways that immediately come to mind for me that could be changed by. On the one hand, you might have chemicals like literally evaporating out of the ingredients while it's being cooked, in which case they are just physically being removed from the thing that you are later eating.
Okay.
So there's just stuff that is in the ingredients that's not in the cake physically, not physically present. And on the other hand, a thing that can potentially increase the amount of calories in practice is that, depending on what exactly you're putting in the cake, there might be some enzymes that break down more complicated, less energy dense chemicals like starches or fibers into sugars. And that means it could go from dietary fiber that broadly doesn't contribute calories to sugars that do contribute calories.
Interesting. And that is what I have noticed, is the increase in the calories per portion. And in a typical cake, you're putting flour, eggs, some kind of dairy, sugar, and then assorted flavorings. But that's kind of the base. Well, maybe baking soda or baking powder, and that's kind of the basic components. So offhand, are you saying then that the flour, which may be,
it has the starch in it, and
Yeah.
also the fiber. Maybe not a lot of fiber. I don't know how much fiber the average cake flour has in it.
right?
But, and also, it doesn't sound like you're adding anything that explicitly has amylase, which is the main enzyme that I was thinking of. The one that turns starches into sugar.
Okay.
That's where maltose, that malt sugar comes from, is amylase.
What about vanilla? I'm just, or
Vanilla is natural vanilla that comes from the actual vanilla beans is like a fucking 200 part chemical assemblage of a bunch of different aromas and flavors and stuff.
okay.
But my understanding is that the large majority of them do not meaningfully contain calories. They're just things that you smell or taste rather than things that contribute to your metabolism. Vanilla extract, or artificial vanilla, is pretty much just pure vanillin dissolved in some solvent. Vanillin being vanillin is present in both natural vanilla and artificial vanilla.
Okay.
And in natural vanilla, it is the big one. It is the central element around which all of the many, many other chemicals orbit.
Okay.
And so that's the one that when people were deciding how to make artificial vanilla, that's the one they picked to be the one they make a lot of. And that's basically just what artificial vanilla is. And that also doesn't have calories. But depending on what it's dissolved in, it might, if it's like a vanilla syrup or something like that, then it could have sugar in it on top of the vanilla that has calories.
Right. I just thought of some ingredient. An ingredient I forgot in a cake is fat.
Yeah.
So it's either butter or oil or lard or whatever.
My understanding is that those don't tend to change a lot in terms of the calories they have in them when you cook them.
Yeah.
Unless if you get them to a smoke point, then you start to literally burn them a little bit, and that is removing things from the cake that is reducing the amount of calories. But my understanding is that people don't usually like a cake that's full of smoke flavor, so that probably doesn't happen generally.
Interesting, though. That's a whole other avenue to explore. Now, what about brown sugar? I mean, it's used in cookies, I think, more often than cakes. And brown sugar, my understanding or my vague memory of it is that it's got like caramel in it, or
No. So
okay, now you're good. Tell me.
Broadly speaking, the sugar that you get, at least in the U.S., is made from cane sugar. Made from sugar canes, rather, from cane juice. It is a refinement of cane juice to extract the sugar from the juice.
Okay.
And the sugar is not the only thing that's in the juice. There's a whole bunch of other chemicals from being in a plant that's also in the juice. The juice is basically just the water that's inside the sugarcane.
Okay.
It's got everything that the plant wants in the water. And brown sugar is sugar that has been slightly less refined and has a bit more of those other chemicals in it. And they happen to mostly be brown, which is why brown sugar is brown and white sugar is white, is because the brown sugar has the other chemicals that are brown in it, and it's on top of white, which just
That's interesting,
shows
boy.
the brownness.
I really feel like I read something completely different than that, but it could be my memory.
To be clear, when you caramelize sugar,
It turns
you
brown.
reproduce, like the chemistry of caramelization
Yeah.
creates some of the chemicals that are already in the sugar.
Got it.
So there is an amount of similarity there. Like molasses, which is the stuff, in particular blackstrap molasses, is basically the pure form of all of the other stuff that you are taking out of the sugar. And that does contain chemicals that are also in caramel, that are produced by caramelization.
Okay.
But they aren't in the molasses. I mean, I guess in the molasses extraction process, there is an amount of cooking, so there is an amount of caramelization that's happening when you actually extract the molasses also. But
Wait, like now I lost track a little bit there. So the molasses comes from sugar cane as well.
yes, it is the thing that you take out of the sugar cane to be left with sugar,
Got it.
approximately.
Got it.
And there's a whole bunch of variations in where you keep some of the sugar with the molasses to make the molasses lighter. You keep some of the molasses in the sugar to make the sugar browner.
Right.
There's a whole spectrum of exactly how you mix those things.
Right.
But those are the two poles:
And-
blackstrap molasses and white sugar.
That's wonderful. Just to think of it in terms of two ends of the same stick, basically. And we could keep on going down this rabbit hole for sure. But I just wanted to get back and kind of summarize how the separate ingredients for creating a cake in particular would come together, be baked, and end up being more calories proportion
Right. So
than that.
even if you aren't actively adding amylase, which is the enzyme earlier that I mentioned that breaks down starches into simpler sugars, and that can include breaking down fibers into not fiber.
Okay.
Fibers being fully indigestible. They don't contribute to your metabolism at all. They just
Go through you.
The larger starches are still like not perfectly stable. Like they aren't immutable. They aren't indestructible. And being baked even at a relatively low temperature can destroy some of them. And when they're destroyed, some of the products that come out of them are sugar.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I think we've covered that very well. And with a little added information about sugar, brown sugar, and blackstrap molasses. So thank you, Forrest.
You're welcome.
Pleasure listening to your answers. Until next time.
Okay.